So, welcome everyone to the Music Weeklies anniversary series of interviews. And I'm here today with Peter Baden, who is a composer and a drummer and a improviser and apparently a drone pilot. and Peter has done a lot of different projects. You have written for a Viking experience cinematic film situation. You've done theatres. You were the musical director at the Youth Olympic Games at Lillehammer in 2016. Is that correct? And you have written for a multitude of films and theatre, and also you have this whole project that you started called Rhythms from Space. Is that right in English? Yeah. Most importantly, you went to school with me. I guess, yeah, high school. We went to music high school. And I remember specifically, I remember you were very much present with doing a lot of interesting things. But I had this memory of us. We were in the MIDI lab. This was 1997. We were taught Logic Audio, I think it was called. And I was sitting there with my MIDI keyboard and with headphones, and I heard this sort of slapping. And I was like, what is that noise? And it was you. You were playing the MIDI keys, whereas I was playing the MIDI keyboard like a classical pianist. You were playing it as a drummer.
Or more like this.
Yeah. And I remember looking over at you, and your whole body was sort of grooving to something very cool that you were writing, obviously. Whereas I was probably struggling with write a jingle for, I don't know, we had a lot of weird assignments.
That was a fantastic time. The first time we did that, the first time we managed to control the computer and make music. That was just. I remember we got locked up in the school because everybody went home and the guard went home at 11 or something. So we were locked in. And me and my friend Johan Willem, we discovered that you could actually take a mini jack and put it in the rear of the computer, and then you can record guitar. And that's probably the most själsättande, interesting part in my whole career as a musician, I think.
Wow, yeah.
From that moment, all the doors opened, and it was just like, wow, everything was possible.
So you were literally there all night then?
Yeah, we were there until the next morning.
And then you went straight to school, or?
Yes, we were actually on school already.
So, yeah, super students. So did you sleep at all then, or did you just play the guitar?
You never sleep in a MIDI lab. You always just make music.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Guess,
yeah, I remember this was, apparently I've spoken to someone else in our class who said we were one of the few people who were taught a DAW at that time.
Yeah.
That other schools who were teaching the same subjects weren't actually teaching their students to use the DAW. So yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great, but I couldn't afford it after, so I didn't buy it because it was insanely expensive back then.
I remember I got Logic 3 something, 3.0, I think, and the computer was a PC 400 megahertz, and I was just, wow, you could drag around stuff, and you can have like reverb, and wow, it was just like that was golden times.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little about yourself as a musician, as an explorer of sonic input? It seems.
I can try. This is a composer's corner, I guess. So it's kind of I grew up in a family with musicians. All my brothers and sisters are musicians. My mother and father. My mother had a music kindergarten in the basement where we lived, and my father was an organ player. My grandfather was an organ player and a composer for 12-tone music and that kind of a lot of church music.
Oh, nice.
My brother also is is an organ player, so I was kind of the black sheep, wanted to play drums. I remember my father told me that, "Are you sure you want to do that? Because you will never get a job. You know, the piano player is the guy who always get all the jobs." So I guess I started off by playing drums just to show him, prove him wrong. So it was a funny thing. But my mother and my father really, we were in choirs, and I got this massive life thing called music in my life, the whole the whole childhood. So it was very much from that background. I started to play an old organ in the church when they had like the speech in the church. I thought that was kind of not so interesting, so I went down in the basement. There was a organ with a kind of a rhythm box, and I would record this rhythm box on a cassette player, and I would have another cassette player, so I could play that cassette and record on the next one, and still play organ on top of that. So that I would have like two voices into that second cassette player, and then I could play that one and record on this one and change the cassettes and make the next player. So I kind of started by DJing with that.
Wow. How old were you then?
Like maybe 11, 12, something like that. And then I got a 4-track recorder from a friend, lent, and yeah. So I always wanted to make stuff, So I was interested in that part of music very, very, very much. And I played drums in some TenSing and some bands and stuff. So that was kind of the start, I guess. And then I went to a music school with you. That was great. And then I went to a next music school called now it's called Høgskolen Kristiania. It's in Oslo. It was called NIS at that time, and they would teach me more like I could go in the studio there, and I would literally lived there for a year. I didn't go home. I worked very much there and made a record, and then kind of that opened up a lot of possibilities. I did a remix record for a Norwegian jazz label, so I could kind of show all the jazz guys, "Hey, I remixed you. Listen to this," and they were like, "Oh, that's cool. We want to do something more or play together." So I got to play with a lot of nice people, and that was very nice. So that's kind of my background. I play drums. I do a lot of visual stuff with projection mapping and projectors on stage with other artists and bands, and some VJing and some live sampling, and a lot of I like to improvise a lot.
Yeah, I can tell. I watched your one of the latest improv sessions that you put on YouTube. I think the one that you have on your website from March or something, from Brakkesyke.
Yeah, when Corona hit, whole of Norway just completely locked down, and I lost all my job for this year in 2 days. So I was like, just okay, I got to do something else. And I've been working a lot for many years with trying to be a one-man band kind of thing, trying to loop myself and do interesting stuff without having a plan actually for what I was going to use this for. But I always wanted to kind of layer stuff and kind of try to make a song without having a plan, just by that feelings, no concrete chords or anything, just trying to sample things up and from a starting point in drums. So I have some keyboards, and I don't know what sounds are where all the time, but trying to make something and find a path in that, and then try to kind of make a form, and then you have a kind of a song, I guess. And so I use a lot something called Granulator, which is a plugin in Max for Live, Ableton Live, and Max for Live for Ableton, blah blah. and so you could kind of grab a sound from the drums and kind of play that in a kind of a special granular way. And I also do that with more harmonic material, and that kind of is one of the techniques, I guess, for layering and making music with when I'm alone. So that concert you referred to was a kind of result of that. And I also had like 3 web cameras, just like this one, and I put up a thing called in VDMX. So I would kind of make this picture, but I would also make a digital zoom inside that picture, so you could have some more movement, because a lot of concerts are just like this. It's a one frame, like one picture. So I thought maybe you can challenge the way we see these concerts are very often a bit stiff, a bit traditional. So I tried to do
Yeah, I
something with
could.
that.
I mean, I didn't know that you did all that yourself, but it almost looked like you had a camera crew on that one, because the angles were fresh, let's say, and it was very organic and
Yeah,
a
cool.
dynamic sort of motion of the picture. That's very cool that you could just set that up yourself.
Yeah, it took some time though, but it was been doing that for some years, trying to learn new software that gives me these possibilities. So VDMX is a certain program where you can kind of do stuff like that, and it's not for live cameras or doing it's for live cameras, but it's not for a live broadcasts, but kind of gives you all these opportunities or possibilities to use it in this particular way. So I had one computer doing just picture, and I had one computer doing just the music, the microphones, all the. I think I had like 15 USB ports, like these ones would control a looper, and this would be effects on this looper, and this would be different reverbs and stuff, or pitching up the blah blah something, and I sent these 2 things to this third computer, which would only do the streaming. So it was kind of a risky setup, but it's. I remember I used so much time on the technique that I on the first stream I totally forgot to rehearse anything. So I was just like, oh my god, in 5 minutes I'm gonna play, and I don't know anything about what I'm gonna play. I just had to do kind of the routine, trying to find something interesting in that, and it works sometimes, but when you take a kind of a musical risk like that, it feels very good when you do it right and when it works, and when you don't do it right, it feels like you want to sell all your stuff and just do something else. It's terrible.
Yeah, I guess
But
that is a very high risk sort of endeavor. It's kind of fascinating to me that you sort of intersect in the live musician or gigging musician and composer, and also, I don't know, you have this interesting mesh of things that you do, but still you do very traditional sort of composer things as well, and like this Viking thing that I was just listening to, the Saga Scope, I think it was called.
okay, yeah, that's
It was
more
very
like
sort of
more
very
like
classic cinematic music, very
yeah.
beautiful, but it's just that, and then go from that to the stream that you're now talking about, or that session, which is just improv, and it's very, very cool. It's very. How do you feel that you bring those 2 mindsets together, or do you approach being a composer, let's say, from the perspective of being a drummer? How does that influence on how you write in a more typical writing process?
Um, for me, I don't think it needs to, I guess all people have different sides. My what I like to do, like what I like to play, it's not the same for me as what I would like to listen to. I seldom listen to music like that. Just I, actually, I seldom listen to music at all.
Yeah,
But
me
that's
too.
just because I tend to work with music all day, every day. So it's you don't have so much time, I guess. And I don't. I enjoy listening to music, but I'm kind of fascinated by the idea of trying to make my own music without listen to or trying to listen to or get influenced by a lot of other music. My mother sometimes tell me you have to you have to check out that and that and that. So my father also, they're classical trained and academic. They did their share on school, the school side. So, and I don't have that background almost at all. So I always try to just make the music I feel or listen, but I can't play it. I'm a terrible piano player, so I have to sing it. I have to use a lot of time. It takes many hours to get all the things, all the lines from here and to a computer. I wish I played better piano. I wish I knew that some kind of musical instrument, harmonic instrument better. But it's kind of difficult to put these two different sides, the classical, making a traditional, more like pop cultural, filmatic music thing. That is something completely different than the impro, more spacey thing. And I don't think it's a conflict at all either. It's just it's just fun. And I play some pop drums for some bands. I do some world music with other people, and I can play some jazz. I enjoy that as well. There's no conflict in that, and I think like the way I see the music stage today, it's very important to have a lot of different legs to stand on. You don't. It's not so interesting for me just to play drums, and then I would have to play around with all the artists touring 24/7, 365 days a year, if that's 365 days. So it's better to have one leg that you can play, and the other leg is maybe composing, and the other leg is maybe writing scripts for theater, and the third is doing visual stuff. I find that very interesting to do a lot of different things, and that doesn't mean that doesn't mean you become an expert on all levels, but you kind of grow in an interesting way. That's my feeling, at least.
Yeah, that I think that is a very beneficial thing to. I mean, to get work, maybe it's good to be a little specialized, but it's also a matter of enjoying what you do, and doing the same thing over and over is not necessarily beneficial to musical growth. To
That's
develop
true.
oneself as an artist or a composer or any of those things. So it seems like a very good mix that you're doing. You seem
It's
to be.
interesting, and it takes time to grow as a composer, to make music like the thing in the Saga Scope, which is just I guess you heard it on my webpage or something. It's on SoundCloud. To make that kind of music, I never made that kind of music before, because I never had the opportunity. But I always tried to before I have tried to make some kind of film music, and I made music for film also many times, but not exactly like this production, in terms of a friend of mine called it, it's really like Hollywood music, and I guess it's right in some way, but still it's it's some kind of flavor in there that is some kind of personality that I try to put in. But it's very fun, to try to make music you don't you never made before.
This is what I do. I used to be a singer when we were in school, right? So I
Yeah.
had this idea when I came back to music after various circumstances a few years ago. I was like, I'm going to write songs because I'm a singer.
Yeah.
And I got so stuck in that. Oh, and I hate writing songs.
Okay. Why?
And then when I then joined in this group, actually, Music Weeklies, and there were these themes that were a week long, and there was no way I was going to write a song in a week because I'm very bad with writing lyrics, and you have to record and blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So I started doing instrumental stuff, and then it developed, and the themes kept coming, and I sort of all of a sudden found this whole new space that I could take back or take in as a musician that has really made me grow, just having to try new things each week. And one week it would be sweet 70s rock or whatever, and the next week it would be elevator music, and the next week it would be some kind of jazz situation. And the trying new things, it's really opened me up to try new things and to not be scared of that. So I am, of course, I'm part of the team there now. So I'm, of course, a very happy Music Weekly person. But
I want to
but
join
it
that.
also was a very good place to learn because of all the different themes that kept coming up.
And by doing this, you kind of get influenced by what the mentors or what I guess you get a review on what you do, or how does this work?
Well, people listen and give feedback on what you've done, and it's grown into this community where pretty much everyone who submits music there will get feedback, at least 3 or 4 different commenters who say, oh, cool, that was cool what you did with that chord progression, or oh, nice instrumentation, or whatever. And
Great.
So we've focused quite a lot on the community part because we want to encourage people to write music, and then you have to sort of not put your music into a void. That's not very encouraging. So yeah. Cool. But so okay, let's go back to you a little bit.
Oh.
So I guess this was kind of covering my question, how did you know you wanted to be a musician? That was, you touched upon that. You did your story kind of.
Yeah.
But how would you say you got from finishing that second music education to where you are today, for instance, during your professional career? What was the trajectory there? How did you start doing compositions for films, etc., for instance?
Yeah, I guess I'm still I'm still searching for the answer, because I don't, that journey I feel is just begun. I haven't done any big films yet, not done any big international productions, but I did TV series. I did some a German feature film and a lot of short movies, films and documentaries and stuff. But becoming a composer is for me nothing you become. I guess you evolve into it in some way. It's you emerge in some way into that profession, because I don't think it's so strange that all the great composers for film, for example, are pretty old persons, pretty grown up persons very often, because they have a lot of knowledge. It takes a lot of time to get up to this level where you can see all this. You have this overview in a certain way that takes a lot of time and effort to get into. I went to school just a couple of years ago where I met in Lillehammer, which is a film composer school, which is it's it's not a full year only there. You have like group meetings once a month, and it was so inspiring because when we went to school together, I had so many things I wanted to do, but now when I kind of grew up, I finally have the time to put all this knowledge into certain points, or in Norwegian we call it hengeknagger. I guess that means all this knowledge you have somewhere to put it. You have a certain so I have big holes in my knowledge about film music, and by taking this course, I learned a lot, and did that made me focus on this even more. So I really I'm really thankful for this opportunity to go to school as an adult as well. You don't have to be 17 and know exactly what you want to do with your life. I'm still searching for for the right answer. What you're gonna do when you're grown up. I guess I'll be a composer. I'm hoping for now. It took me 20 years to call myself a composer. It was first when I read it somewhere that so now I'm a composer because that's what I do actually. So I'm very humble, or what's the name for this profession, being a composer, because for me I have a lot of respect for this great variety of different styles, genres, the knowledge about spotting where in a film the music can be a part of the storytelling of the film, and music is for me a very strong storytelling element, and when used right, it has it can make you cry, it can make you smile, it can make you feel someone that is not there, especially for film, and also in scoring for games and something that is interactive. It is a completely and enormous, interesting. It's altoppslukende. How do you say that in English?
Immersive, I guess.
Yeah, it is, and I also tried some VR stuff we did with Ridley Scott's Dimension Studios in England. That was a great experience because the music in film and by moving your head and trying to hook up musical themes for different objects in a 3D world is very interesting as well. So if you can use the player as kind of when musical elements are put up in a 3D space, you can actually let the user play these different objects as well. And I think we will see more of that coming, where the user or the player can actually play with not only the picture but in a more interesting way also with the music in a game.
I'm actually part of developing a music game at the moment.
Oh, that's so cool.
So, well, stay tuned. It's
it.
only in the beginning stages yet, but yeah. So
Cool.
it's not 3D as per now, but who knows? I mean, there is a lot you can do with the software to make it 3D, even if it is 2D.
Yeah, of course.
So,
that's interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
So what do you do there then? Is it kind of...
Well, right now we just hashed out the storyline.
Yeah.
Sorry. And
your dishwasher is finished, I guess.
and we are sort of making the chronology, I guess. And then I'm writing the music, but we're also the game is also about searching for the music because the music has disappeared from the world and you have to reinstate the music. And so I'm thinking about ways to how can I integrate without it being like this is a scale and this is how I don't want that. I want this game to be an organic experience of maybe getting some light bulb moments for the player if they're not a musician, let's say. So the feeling of, okay, the root note sounds good with the fourth note, for instance, just to
Yeah.
experience the music more than learn specifically. But yeah, it's very fun.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Makes me think about music in a new way. But I've
Yeah.
always been a gamer, so it's fun that I get to do this. But
Yeah, that's so cool.
yeah, well,
You know, the thing with the music is not here. You know, that's then I made a piece, a theater play called Rhythms from Space, where the whole theater play version with the actresses and actors and in the Norwegian State Theater, the whole bottom line was we are in a country and a place where music is not allowed. So this Dromonaut crash lands on this place, and he only communicates with music. That's his language, the galactic, intergalactic music language of music. So that's kind of the same story based there. Cool.
yeah, that one is really interesting. I saw some clips on it online, I guess, on your YouTube, probably.
Maybe, yeah.
It's a while ago, I think.
Mm.
But the setup this was for schools, a lot of it, wasn't it? You did it with.
Well, it started out as a kind of a concert actually for two drummers and productions. So the storyline is pretty simple. It's two drummers that only communicate with music, and so we play on kids' heads, and we travel around on schools. We did this for 10 years, so I'm a bit. I've done it a lot, but in Norway we played for like 120,000 kids and grown-ups.
Wow.
And we played all the jazz festivals and cultural houses and concert halls and stuff like that. Also did it abroad, pretty nice things in Lithuania and Estonia and Germany and stuff. So it grew from something very small, a small concert for kids, and into a theater piece. And I also tried to make television for barne-TV, kids television for this project.
Right, so you've written it into a full script then with, or was that, did you write it yourself, or did you?
Yeah, it was it started out as a concert, and then I made a theater play of a new storyline, which has the same base, but also has a girl and a father and the written police and a different place. And then we tried to make together with a Norwegian film production company, we tried to make a television thing with it. And it just started the day before we were supposed to sign with NRK, because of production companies these days don't actually care about you. They just they kind of sacked me. So they said, like, here's a couple of bucks and now you're done. And I was like, but you have to sign here. And I was like, no, that's not okay, I guess. I don't want to do that. Okay, then it's not going to happen. And I was like, okay. So I had to call NRK and say, we can't go any further. So that was kind of, I'm happy about it now, but it was kind of a new interesting erfaring
Experience.
With the TV business industry.
Yeah, there is that the balance between generating money and I don't know. It's very sad that they can't do this more seriously and take more care of the people that they want to work with. But
I guess it's from their point of view, I guess it's the whole industry of making music and music for TV and for a lot of the industry is very much based on short-term money and based on the idea that music is free. Music is you have stock music. You can use epidemic sound and a lot of the free libraries, you know,
Yeah.
and you can make a lot of nice productions with only that in the reality genre, for example. But to make something new, you have to use people's inspiration, people's talent, and that is should not be free at all. I
No.
think.
No, and I mean, this is the big problem these days, is that people aren't willing to pay much for music, even if it is. Before, we used to buy a CD, right? It was pretty
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
In 99, I worked at a record store,
All right.
and it was 190 kroner, I think, for a
Yeah.
CD, which is, I mean, about 19 euro back in 99. And we wouldn't even consider paying that for music now, for just our general music consumption as
It's crazy.
consumers. And that's insane.
Yeah, it is.
And
That was one CD, you know, with 8 or 12 tracks.
Yeah.
And now, you know, paying for Spotify is like, whoa, I can't do that. Oh, it's a lot of money. People think like that. That's crazy.
yeah, I know.
You know?
One of my friends said his music, he found out that he would, because he used a distribution service, and he
Yeah.
had calculated that if he played his music 24/7 on 2 computers, he would make that money back in a year. This was on Spotify or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
very sad.
hard.
And also, I watched a documentary series on NRK, which is the Norwegian state broadcaster for TV.
Yeah.
And they'd used epidemic sound, and it made me really angry because epidemic sound doesn't allow composers to be part of a PRO, a copyright collective. So if you're a member of Tono, you can't write music for epidemic sound. And this is, I had to tweet about it because to me that's very serious that our state broadcaster doesn't take that responsibility to actually buy music from people who can make a living from it.
I totally agree.
Yeah, it's sad.
And you have all these buyout problems. You know, I
Yeah.
did a series for a Norwegian, another commercial channel, and I had to, you know, I had to write sign that I would give them a buyout, and this is some years ago, and I didn't understand at that time that I would actually do that. I didn't understand the consequences. You know, I was stupid, just and not informed. Because I thought it was great, and you know, I didn't have anything to do, or it crashed with some things, but it you know, it just we'll do it, that's cool. And it was friends of mine, and I understood later that was like really stupid.
It's hard because in the game world, for instance, there hardly are any options. People very rarely give any other options to buy your music. It's either a total buyout or bye.
Yeah.
And
That happens.
that's a problem.
If you can use, you know, when you're 60 or 70, that becomes a problem, because then you probably don't have anything to live from.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Well, if we go back a little bit to your creative process, because I could talk for ages about these things, because I studied law and I'm very into copyright and buyouts and blah, blah, blah. But this is an interview about you.
Okay.
Or so I won't go on a rant. So maybe if we go to talk a little bit about your creative process. Let's say you have a typical project, whichever, you can pick one type. And what would be your process? How do you start creating, and where do you go from there?
Whoa, yeah, I guess I'm kind of that depends, of course, of the project. You know, it's I do a lot of music for theater plays as well. I do some dance performances, and I do some contemporary stuff, and also some commercial stuff. So it's very depending on the project. But usually I walk around and think about the project and try to find some inspiration just by thinking about it or reading, you know, a little bit about what it is or the script or something that is, you know, having a chat with the producer or the director. And from there, I'm sometimes just sit on a piano, just doing some small sketches, or depending on of the size of it. Some theater plays, I just sit on the rehearsals for the play and try to serve in some ideas when they rehearse the scenes. And in other projects, I'll go to the studio and try to make some symphonic ideas. Or I just did something called Wendy and Peter Pan in Bergen in a the theater there, which is kind of a, you know, Peter Pan is it's kind of a film score I made for that project because I felt that was the right thing to do. No songs or anything, very little song-based material, but very much like a film actually, and that worked well because it was that kind of project. It wouldn't have worked with contemporary music score for that production. So it's very much a starting point with the director, a kind of a spotting session where is it supposed to be music in its score? What is the music supposed to say? Is it giving an emotional twist? Is it just some kind of, you know, taking us from one scene to another, like an overgang, which I guess it's
Transition.
the English word. Yes, very nice. And sometimes it's you know, if there's a fight scene, maybe we could go for some drum stuff. Maybe we should go just to counter a lot of some kind of ballet music and make some interesting twist with the more like contrapunktish thing, or a contrast. Sometimes it's the music is already made for the first version of the play, so you have some kind of knowledge of what it was before. Maybe you can use that, or maybe you don't want to use it. Whatever the production is, it's always for me a kind of a new start, where I'm always a bit afraid that it will be difficult, or you know, you wanna make a good production. You want to make good music for the right stuff and in the right way. So it's very much like trying to paint a picture you don't know what is going to be. It's always a kind of a blank page, and it's always a new kind of vibe to the project. I think it's very interesting to make music for theater plays, because it's evolving all the time. You know, it's not one. The first day, it's one kind of feeling in the scenes, and it will change.
Over the
next couple of weeks.
performances.
Yeah, not only the performance, but also in the rehearsals, it will change a lot. And that is something I find very much interesting, because what worked 1 week ago is not necessarily working now, and you always have to be in a stage of kind of modular setup. You always have to be ready to change everything, you know, until the last day. I feel like that, and I feel that is one of the strength and interesting part, and also one of the crazy part about making music for film or for TV or for theater, because it's not written in stone until the last day, you know.
Yeah. So typically, when do you get involved in a project like that? Is it before they start rehearsing, or is it after rehearsals have started, or?
It depends on. Yesterday, I got a script, just like four pages about some kids, and I also got another script about the war in the World War II in Narvik, and it's going to be a theater play about that, and an African boy and a grandmother meeting in Narvik, and they all, both of them have a background in war and seen a lot of things, so they meet. But it was only like 5-6 pages. So when it's possible to come into the production that early, it starts to, I sat up yesterday night, and I think I maybe made some music that I can use in this theater play about the war, and I also have a lot of this about the other stuff, because the thing with the kids and the youth childhood thing is more pop music, more R&B, more grime thing, more trap based. So it constantly kind of rolls around some ideas, I guess. As early as possible is the short answer
Yeah.
to your question.
Yeah, I get it. But it's hard to then have to morph with the project if you have those ideas early on, though. Yeah, I guess that's a plus and a minus.
Yeah, definitely. But it's no, I have no prestige in that. This music I already started with has to be a part of that. It's just kind of the process. It's doing a film. It's perfect if I'm able to get a locked clip, a locked edited film, but it's that's very seldom. Everything changes, each time, and you don't see the whole project before you have the final clip, the final edited version of that film. And then you see that, oh shit, the musical theme for half the film doesn't work because it's too much, it's too repetitive, it's too, and then you have to change stuff. I just experienced this today because the editor kind of used one of the ideas I made for a film the whole time. And I was so fed up with that theme after 1 hour that and he thought it was great, but it was kind of not so great, I think. So I have to make some new stuff for that tonight before tomorrow, and that's going to be even better, I think. I hope.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, if you need to work on that tonight, we should get moving then.
Yeah, you want to come over and help me out with some piano playing?
Sure.
Yeah, that would be great.
Which are your main sources of inspiration? Did I already ask this question?
I don't think so,
No.
but
We sort of touched on it, I guess, but
I don't know. What are yours?
emotions.
Yeah, it's definitely emotions. It's definitely the state you're in. It's. I don't have a go-to for getting inspiration. I just make music for what I feel just then. I just make it, and I don't have so much. I'm not trained academically, so I don't have my grandfather, he went to school in Leipzig and studied with the old people smoking a pipe like this, they had a lot of techniques for how to make music. I find inspiration in a certain tone. I just develop it and see what happens. Sometimes I make some things on the piano, and I can use that to, it's a melody, it's some kind of wind stuff happening out there that is kind of, it could be anything. It's so much, and it's so many different things. But I love walking in the forest. I love to to sail on a small boat. I love to, when I'm supposed to sleep, I very often have to uh, uh, go to the studio and make music.
Hmm.
So I guess nighttime is my main source of inspiration. I
Oh yeah,
guess.
that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true actually. I make most of my music at night.
It's sort of a more contemplative time of the day in a way, I guess.
I'm very focused at that time, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I am, yeah, I'm not so
It's kind
much
of
of a.
difficult to have a family as well.
Yeah, I guess nighttime maybe is when you have more time to yourself then.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
know,
I'm not in that
and
situation. But
phone is not ringing, and people are not skyping, and it's work time.
sorry.
No, it's true. It's you have time for yourself.
Mm.
It's work. It works.
We also already talked a little bit about this, but how do you approach working within the confines of a commission? You know, when they commission a work from you and they say,
Yeah,
we want it like this or like this,
yeah.
and how much of your creativity do you bring forth in that? And how do you deal with their ideas?
Mm. That happens all the time. Temp scores and stuff like that. If it's possible to get a movie without the temp score, it's a beauty. But if they insist of trying to, they put Hans Zimmer all over the place all the time,
Yeah.
and that's great. They feel that's the right thing to do, just to have some emotion on it often. But it doesn't always tell the right story. I feel like um, for me, it's important to try to make all sorts of different music. Both ballet music and jazz music and contemporary noise music and more electro, you know, dance music, and at the same time trying to have your own voice in it. So it's very interesting to try to make music that you think sound like some of the music they put in, but it's not. I don't find it too difficult. It's some kind of inspiration in that as well, because it says something about the emotional state of the film or the part you're supposed to score. Um, Sometimes it's not always like this, that the editor or the director has spotted the perfect music for the emotion that the film needs. So you might, if you're very ambitious, you might want to talk about that and just try to find out why they put that on. What is the music supposed to say? Why is it there? Why did they choose that one? And are you sure that is, if you're uncertain that that is the right thing, you should try maybe to do your own stuff there.
Mm.
I find that at least worth a try. Sometimes sometimes it's not no point, but sometimes it's really a point. Maybe that would be the best thing to do. Yeah. It's a difficult thing because if it's some kind of temp music on a film, it's difficult to make the production company and the director and everybody unfall in love, out of love with that thing.
Mm.
So I guess there's a lot of people said a lot about temp music, and I try not to focus too much about it. Just
Yeah.
make my own stuff if it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, they hired you for a reason for these things, so.
You can hope.
Hmm?
Yeah, at least you can hope.
Yeah. What do you want to achieve with your work?
Yeah, I got this question earlier as well. And I think I thought my answer then was make people feel something, and I think that's still the answer to making music for film or television stuff or moving pictures. That's definitely the answer. But with my own kind of soloish stuff, I think it's if it's just for me. It's my way of trying out new stuff that I don't know before I make it what it will be. So it's kind of a adventure, kind of just trying to make something and something new grows out of that. So it's for me, it's just a kind of a hunt, kind of a way to try out new stuff. I really don't know what it's going to be. So it's kind of a very improvisation based thing. So I find that very interesting, and then probably it's more interesting for me because I'm in this process of playing something which I don't know what is. I don't know exactly. I have some piano like this, and I would have like just lay out 200 drum sounds and pitch them up and down with maybe this controller, and I don't know then what is. It's not a system. It's just randomly, but it's velocity based, and I can play like, and I would loop that, and that would become something to play. Okay, now it's a kind of a beat. Maybe I can sing something or play some kind of other synth. And I have this great Russian synth called Lyra from a Russian guy, which is it's totally unprogrammable. So it's no kind of it's not a fixed tone. So it's all this stuff and that is not in a system is very much interesting. I think to kind of make music without this perfect pitch or metric system. It's just you and your talent, kind of talent based or influenced by what's happening in the moment, and not by 20 years of training. It's just an idea and just go for it. I think that is very much so. I guess it's more process based for me. And then your question would be why you do this now. What's the question?
What do you want to achieve with it?
Yeah. Make music, I think. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. I need to make music.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, why would we otherwise try to do this? I hope people who are professional musicians are not in it just because they felt like it was the most practical, or like, I hope they all feel it still.
That's seldom the answer, I guess.
Hopefully.
It's not so practical.
No.
It's crazy a lot of work, and it's so much things you have to be on the top of in terms of sound libraries, playing stuff, mixing, mastering, loops, all the things with streaming, all the things with different recordings, different, everything from visuals to graphics to Unity to controllers and setup. It's enormous lot of different parts that you could be digging deep into, and still there I have a friend that is just he's only composing with pen and paper, and everything is here, and I'm like, whoa, I could never do that.
No, me neither.
I would paint something. So there are different approaches, very much, and you don't need to know everything about everything. You don't need to use Adobe Premiere or Final Cut to make music for film.
No.
You only need to make the music, you know. There's a lot of ways to make music.
We have a few questions from the community
Okay.
of people in Music Weeklies.
Yeah.
One is, what's the best advice you have for people who want to break into your field?
Oh, well, that will be what I actually just said, I guess, because I'm doing a lot of different stuff. So dig into stuff, all the different stuff. I have no record of how many months and hours I've been sitting on YouTube trying to learn how to do visuals, but it's a lot. You know, it's a great, enormous field. And I guess like using time and get information from people that are good, take courses, get friends with the people that are in a different that are better than you, and also that are in different fields of the industry or the community than you. That is probably the answer, I think.
That's good. How do you deal with imposter syndrome and potentially burnout?
I guess the answer is every day, but how?
Do you have any strategies to make it as easy as possible?
You know, no, I don't. I drink coffee sometimes a lot, and I try to sleep, and you know, you get too little sleep. That's just a fact. But one thing you can do is to avoid using your time on things you don't need to do. You know, I don't have a TV, for example, in here or in the living room, because I don't have that much time to do that. I enjoy going to the movies, and sometimes we watch film as well, but and I don't scroll forever on Instagram because it takes a lot of time. So trying to use like time management is probably one of the most difficult and most important things in making music, because there's a lot to use your time for, and things that don't make you make music is, I don't have time for that, I guess.
Yeah.
And that would only result in more less sleep. So I think that's
that's a vicious cycle, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
And imposter syndrome, do you deal with that any these days? Like,
Is that like the same as utbrenthet?
no, that's more of a feeling that you're not good enough, and that you just you tricked someone to be where you are, sort of.
Yeah, well, I did that sometimes, I guess. You know, yeah. Someone told me once that if you and I shouldn't use the F like in FUCK word, but don't give a shit sometimes. It's a good thing, I think. People tend to be very, you know, very take things very seriously, and for me it becomes a kind of a strain. So sometimes you just have to just kind of start over, or don't give a damn about stuff. You know, I once was called into a meeting with the CEO in Norway's biggest bank, with Norway's biggest like reklamebyrå. I never worked with commercials before, and I was like, no, I can't do that. And I actually went on a vacation, and they called me back and said, hey, you have to make music for this. And I never done that. I can't do that. You know, it's I guess you got the wrong guy. Are you sure about this? And I was, yeah, we are sure about this. Get back here. And I was like, okay. So I had to turn the boat around and go back to Oslo. I was there the morning after. So what I did was just telling myself, hey, you're that guy making all the commercial music. You're that guy. Come on, man. I was like, I remember just trying to trick myself into believing that, yeah, that's a great idea. That's going to work so nice. and kind of have a little of humor about that, and that worked pretty nice. So I did the meeting, bought a blue shirt on the way to the meeting, and they were like, "Wow,
Looking
that's."
professional.
I remember also saying this. This is kind of embarrassing, but I remember in that meeting, they asked me, "So how much music you have to design to kind of, it's a lot about design," and I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be a lot of music, and you have to design it, but it's very much like this, that we also need some silence, and that also has to be designed." And they were like, "Whoa, this guy." but it's true, you need the contrast, and you need it in the special places. But putting that words in my mouth was just like, who am I now? Is this? But since then, I made some commercials, and that is really, I think that's a great way to, I enjoy it very much, because sometimes you get a bag of money for doing something that you evolved into. I couldn't do that 10 years ago because I didn't have the knowledge. Now I have it, and I can make a lot of interesting music, telling a good story for a commercial product, and I have no problems with that, because it's a part of my job. And the first steps into new areas are always kind of, what is this? What's the codes? Who is who and everything? So it takes some time to kind of, level down on stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's something people tend to keep struggling with, this thinking I'm not good enough or whatever. But I guess that's a good way of dealing with it, and not
It's very
taking it
easy
so
to
seriously,
say.
maybe.
It's very easy to say what I said now, but to tell you the truth, it's it. I have been working on kind of a solo record for I don't know how many years, and the dogma is I don't have any. It's not allowed to do overdubs or any editing. Uh, Yesterday I found out that, and I always thought this really sucks. I didn't like it at all. But then I kind of leveled up to making a homepage for myself, so at least someone else could hear my music, and I find it very difficult. I have the same. I have this problem a lot because it's very personal, the things you do when you make music. So I guess, and I'm not an artist. I'm a background guy for a lot of projects, and I kind of tend to like that position as well. But it's I guess we can only try to build each other up, and I think that is
Yeah,
important part
yeah,
of that.
absolutely.
Mm.
To finish off, we have a few short questions where you just give like a one-liner answer.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and then we're done. You can go make music.
Great.
Given the choice for making music, which would you choose? DAW, paper, inside of your head, or on an instrument?
What does inside of your head mean?
Like you just said, a lot of people just have all the music in their head. Like that's how you compose, I guess. I know a few of those.
I would go for a DAW.
Yeah.
I'll have two of them actually.
Okay, you take two DAWs.
Yeah.
Okay, right. What one thing would you like to experiment more with?
Produce musicians in the studio. That's the best thing. Just listen, not being all the technician, all the not doing everything at the same time, doing one thing, focus. Yeah, and play duos with great other players.
Okay. Which music trend bothers you the most?
I have no problems with music trends.
Okay.
So I guess that's the answer.
Okay. Very
Um,
open-minded.
yeah, definitely. But you know, some music I kind of feel it's more like sports than music sometimes. That's all I gotta say about that.
Okay. Okay. And lastly, music guilty pleasure.
I loved Mezzo Forte when I was 14, and
Mezzoforte
I guess
is.
it's a kind of a fusion rock band.
Oh, okay.
But now you know there's a lot of that kind of music is always is coming back, kind of, yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That's all I have. It
yeah.
was really nice to talk to you, and
Thanks.
it
Nice to
was
talk to you as well. Long
very
time.
good to hear someone's story, how you make stuff work. And you're also in a rather small music industry in Norway, so that's interesting. For a lot of the
Mm.
people we have in Music Weeklies are from smaller scenes, not from
Yeah,
Hollywood.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
interesting.
great.
You know, everybody sits on their own little studio and make music. So and now everything is locked down. So it's I guess it's this is a way to connect in any
Mm,
way. That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you very much for taking part in this.
Thank
And
you.
thank you to all the listeners and viewers. And we'll see you for the next interview.
Yeah.